Very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you all are doing good. Let's have a positive start. Associate yourself with people of good quality. For it is better to be alone than in bad company. This has been extensively talked and explained in Buddha science as well. Lord Buddha said about this thing in Buddha science that I'll give you a practical example. You might have observed this thing that many a times your friends or one of your friend will ask you. I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'll just give you one example of how we are influenced or our subconscious decisions are influenced by someone else's decision or desire. You know, when your friends, when you are reading or you're hanging out with your friends and someone will decide that let's have a cup of coffee or something, and then you will travel all together, you know, at a different place to just have a cup of coffee, and then later on you will realize that you have wasted too much amount of your time and things like that. So this is just one example of how one person's decision can impact a whole group, and this is a science thing as well. It's basically about influencing someone's subconscious mind. So in this way, it is very important to have either to be alone rather than being in a bad company. Again, this example is not a bad example. It's not a bad thing to have a coffee with your friend. I'm just giving you one example that you might have experienced, I believe. Now, with this, dear friends, we have many important articles today. This one is a very important one, Mission Impossible. I have told you earlier on as well that when it comes to simultaneous election, make sure you have both good points, right, as well as bad points with you, or merits and demerits, because you could be asked a question, and then again, once you have this good point or merits and demerit points, you should form a decision whether we should go ahead with it or we should not, and if we should, then why, and if we should not, then why not. Then you have this conscience call. It is about Rohingya issue. We'll go through it in detail. Then we have this prosperity in 21st century. This one is an article that is basically talking about a previous article, and it is saying why the previous article was right. We'll talk about it as well, and this is about checks against atrocities. I'll go through it as well. Today is Saturday. You have one more a page of op-ed in which you have this special big article on this Bakarwal communities, and the reason why this Bakarwal community and people of this Bakarwal community are in news is because of this rape case of Kathua. And basic overview, let me tell you that they are travelers. They move from one place to another. They follow this season because they look after their goats and ships and other animals. So this is how their lifestyle is, right? And this article that you find in today's Hindu, this bigger one or the longer one, you can have extra time today because you have Saturday weekend, right? So if you have spare time, then make sure you go through it, have a quick glance over it, and you will find a couple of important details associated with Bakarwal community. You find this sort of items as MCQs in your prelims examination. Now, the reason why I have not added is because already earlier on, whenever we found this type of information, I have already provided it to you. So if you are new to it, just have a quick glance and understand how they live or their lifestyle is all about. This is my Facebook page here. This is my Twitter handle. You can get in touch with me, as well as you will be able to download the PDF of today's discussion. StudyIQ provides pen drive and tablet courses for various different exams. As you can see on your screen, we cover many different competitive exams, and our test series is out as well. Your prelims are not far now, and you should sincerely consider taking this test series because it will help you immensely. Practice will make you perfect. The more you deal with MCQs now, the better it will be for you to tackle this upcoming prelims examination. Find out more about it on StudyIQ.com. If you have any queries, you can give us a call on the numbers that you can see on your screen. Now, the first item that we have is Mission Impossible. Now, just today morning, I released my Press Information Bureau analysis of 18th April. And on 18th April, I have talked about this thing, this simultaneous election. Today we are at what, 21st April. So a couple of days ago I talked about this thing, about a simultaneous election, and on regular basis I do add one special topic in PIB. It's available both in Hindi and English. So if you go through that one, and I will reckon you guys to go through the last bit of this PIB analysis. Means I will reckon you guys to go through the whole bit, but if you just want to cover, or if you just want to have a sort of analysis, or if you want some demerit points of going ahead with simultaneous election, then I have discussed it in the 18th April's PIB analysis. Do check it out. Now, idea of holding simultaneous election, it is not a new idea. It was discussed earlier on as well, and in fact it was practiced when our country got independent. At that point of time, this thing was in practice, right? Simultaneous elections were held throughout the country on a same date. At that point of time, we were not having that many resources as well. At the same time, not that many people were interested in. When I say interested, I mean to say that you can understand illiteracy was quite high. So the people voting for it was not that big. And at that point of time, it was Congress that was ruling. And Congress was a big name. It was at its peak because we got independence because of an active role played by Congress. And it's not just because of Congress, but active role, a significant role was played by Congress, no doubt. Now later on, we had this emergency and other things. Presidential rules were applied on different states. And later on, we also see this rise of regional parties and small parties becoming national parties and all these things. So this was a sort of, you can say, inception of a new era in the new political era of our country. And now we know that BJP, once upon a time it was a small party, now it is the biggest party in the world as well as biggest party in our country as well in terms of numbers. And now we have different. Remember Nitish Kumar of Bihar, he was also pitching for his prime ministership. Then you have other parties as well. They are trying to, like AAP and other parties, they were limited to Delhi, but now they are in different parts. When I say, of course, they have not won, but they are working, and you never know, after many years you may find AAP or any other XYZ, whatever party name is. So a simultaneous election comes in because this is basically the background of this timeline, or a bird's eye view over what have happened so far. Now, simultaneous election, Lok Sabha and state assembly elections together. Is it possible to do it? Here this article is talking about, or this editorial is saying, mission impossible. And the reason is, recently Law Commission came out with its opinion. Law Commission has placed this opinion or its view in public domain for this stakeholders to comment on it. We have political parties and academicians, and we have other people as well. Common people like you and I can also take part or pass our opinion and suggestions. And once we have all these suggestions from this stakeholders, then Law Commission will go through it, and again then we will make it a bit more solid and sort out all the problems. But at present, what are the things that we are facing? Now, the first thing is a constitution or constitutional amendments, as well as we need to change this electoral laws as well. Many requirements, many things have to be sorted out in this thing, and this is not going to be that easy as well. The other thing is this particular suggestions that is coming out from Law Commission. It's talking about this constructive vote of no confidence. So what it basically means is that just in case, say for example, if Prime Minister Narendra Modi loses this confidence, right? So rather than going for a new election, what we will have is the whole house, this Lok Sabha will decide, right? Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha together, they will decide that who should be the next Prime Minister. Rather than dissolving Lok Sabha, the leaders or this member of parliaments can decide or select one Prime Minister. It could be anyone. It could be Rahul Gandhi, it could be Sushma Swaraj. Anyone can be selected by the House, and then that person will become a new Prime Minister for the rest of the term. So this is something that has been said by this Law Commission. The other thing is it also talks about this stable government. It is trying to say that stability can be ensured by this sort of things, and we cannot have repetitive elections, and it is expensive and other things and things like that. Now, of course, a simultaneous election is going to be a bit beneficial for our security personnel, right? Most of the time this when I say security personnel, you can include police, but particularly we are talking about this paramilitary forces. They are from one state to other. Their main job is to protect our country, to protect our society, right, from internal threats and other things. But they are deployed for election duty. Now they are doing it very well, and presence of one paramilitary force personnel will make a difference. Thousands and thousands of people will not basically, means they will not do anything wrong when you have at least just one, you have one personnel standing there protecting the booth. So yes, this is helping us, but if you see from their perspective, then they are doing a job that for that they are basically not recruited. The other thing is saving poll expenditure. It will save huge amount of money for us. We can focus on governance as well, because of too much of election most of the time. If you see 5 years, if you take 5 years of India, say for example between 2014 to 2019, if you analyze it, then you will find that altogether 1 year in different parts of our country we have at different time we have elections, but altogether one year is spent or invested for elections. So most of the time we find that different political parties, they are in this election mode, and this is basically hampering our governance as well. Now I have some negative points as well for you guys. When I say negative, I don't mean to say that we don't need this thing. We need, yes, it is a good idea, but there are many problems that we have to sort it out. Commission has said that we can have this system that all those states whose elections are somewhere nearby this general election, we can sync them together, right? SYNC, sync them together, and we can have later on, after 2.5 years, we can have other states. We can take other states. So in this way, we will have like elections every 2.5 years, and then we will try to catch up, and then we will have this whole once every 5 years we will have elections. Now, what about states like Uttar Pradesh? When last assembly election took place in Uttar Pradesh, it took more than a month for us, and this was conducted in 5 phases because of the size of Uttar Pradesh. Then take states like West Bengal, Tamil Nadu. You have other states where election took place in 2017 and 2016, and they are not ally of NDA or central government. Do you think they will agree easily to give up their 3 or 4 years that they have to go through? They will of course resist this constitutional amendment as well as this idea of simultaneous election. The other thing this thing is talking about is this largest party leader becoming prime minister of chief minister. Now imagine that you have 3 different parties, you have 30 different seats, in total 30 seats. One party gets 14 seats out of this 30, and other 2 parties together they get 16 seats. Now what this law commission is saying, that party who is having highest number can automatically become prime minister or chief minister. Now what about this coalition, right? Coalition government is not all bad. Coalition is good as well. So what about this if 2 parties are coming together, and if they want if they agree on one person becoming their chief minister or prime minister, then what about that thing? So there are many things that have to be addressed here. It's not going to be that easy, and we should not be in a hurry or haste to start simultaneous election by 2019. Let's take some more years, but once we come out with a situation, or once we come out with a solution, we should have a near perfect solution or system. And we can also learn from the best practices. If there are this sort of things going on in different parts of the world, then let's learn from them and try to customize and implement all those things here in our country. Moving on to another item, this is about conscience call. It is about Rohingyas. Now, back in 2017, 7 lakh Rohingyas fled to Bangladesh. 7 lakh is a big figure for the Bangladesh as well. Remember, Bangladesh is the most densely populated country in the world, right? And then you have addition of 7 lakh people, then it is going to suck away the limited resources that Bangladesh has with itself. And then you have this map here. This is Burma or Myanmar. You have this state, Rakhine State. Rakhine State is a beautiful state. It has a huge, you can say, that is potential of development. You know, this Kekpew or something like that port, I can't pronounce that or remember that name exactly, but you have this port somewhere here that is developed by China. China has invested, or 70% of development activities of this port is being done by China. Then you have this India Kaladan. Remember this Kaladan project, from where from West Bengal we are going to connect here, and then from here we are going to take a river route, and then from there northeastern states of our country are going to get this you can say this connection to the seas, and then we can avoid this chicken snack and other things. So you can imagine these two big projects will bring huge amount of developmental opportunities for this people of Rakhine State. But because of this political turmoil or this ethnic cleansing that has been going on, or that has been this part of the history of Myanmar, these people are in a worst state, this Rohingya state, or Rohingya people in this Rakhine State. Now, the scale of humanitarian crisis faced by these Rohingyas is a very sad thing, and Myanmar very sadly has claimed that it has repatriated family of 5 out of 7 lakh people. It has helped 5 people. Can you imagine 5 family of 5? That's it. Then this is definitely not something that we want to see in our neighborhood, and the whole world as well is not happy about this thing. Recently, when this meeting was going on in London, this CHOGM meeting, at that point of time, the Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said that we need to put more pressure on Myanmar to take back their own people and ensure their security. This is the state here. See, if you go back in the history of Myanmar and their they are fleeing, they are leaving their own state, their own country since 1970s. You find them 10,000 plus somewhere in UAE. They are 2 lakh because predominantly they are Muslims. So this is one of the reasons why Saudi Arabia has accepted 2 lakh of them. 3,50,000 are in Pakistan as of now. 40,000 are here. Somewhere around 7 lakh people in Bangladesh as per the latest report. And then you have in Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia and other parts as well. So this is not something that just took place in 2017. From last many years, nearly 40 years, they are been tortured, they are been harassed, they are not looked after very well. And at present, we need to do something about it, the whole world, particularly India, because we are big brother here, isn't it? And if we are not going to help them at present, then naturally you are going to find China taking a stand here. And then when we talk about this winning hearts and minds, that has always been a unique selling proposition, or you can say expertise of our country, we are going to lose this thing as well. We are going to, our image is at stake here. We have helped Bangladesh, we have provided them extra food and other items to look after this Rohingya and refugee crisis situation. But monsoon rains are just around the corner, and this is going to bring some fresh trouble. So the best is let them go back to their country. But before that, we have to create this safe environment over there. You see, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, he has said that at present there is no conducive environment over there in this Rakhine State. It's not just about peace. We have to now ensure about their legal status and citizenship as well, because Myanmar does not recognize these people, these Rohingya people. It calls them Bengalis rather than people of Myanmar. They term it as they are Muslim Bengalis. They are not. They have never been part of Myanmar. This is the stand taken by Myanmar government. And the sad thing is, you have this Aung San Suu Kyi, who came to power, or her party came to power after a long struggle. He was behind the bars. He has got this Nobel Prize for peace, and it was hoped, we were hopeful, the whole world, and in fact these Rohingyas were hoping as well, this thing that when she will come to power, things will be different for this community. But she has not done anything significant so far, and this brings immense pain for the community and for the neighborhood of Myanmar. With this, we check this article of prosperity in the 21st century. Now, a couple of days ago, when I say a couple of days ago, precisely on 4th April, this editorial page, we saw this big article written by Rangarajan and Mahendra Dev, how the data sets stack up. This article talked about inequality and poverty, and remember we talked about this thing that it's not necessary that if you are reducing inequality, then at the same time poverty will be eliminated as well. Now let's take this example of leveling up and leveling down. Now leveling down, basically rich people, right? If you have some rich people in your country, and if you want to reduce this inequality between poor and rich, then what you can do is you can apply, I'm just giving you a rough example, you can apply extra heavy tax on this rich people. So what you are doing is the government is taking away too much of tax or money from them and property and other things, so that they are not that rich. But this will not change. This will of course help in a little bit in inequality, a thing that was this wide apart, right? Many people poor and a few people are rich. You can reduce it and bring it to this level or this level. This will of course reduce this inequality, but that will not guarantee that the situation of these poor people has changed. Leveling up, that means bringing this this level of this people, right? If you have too many poor people, then leveling up, you can give them extra money and things like that. In this way as well, you can reduce this inequality, but that does not mean that poverty will be eliminated. If you don't provide them opportunity, if you don't train them, then it is not going to help. They will again become poor. So this is something very common to understand, isn't it? Now, this poverty indicators, or this in this article written by this two gentlemen, Mr. Dev and Rangarajan, they argued that poverty is an important indicator of country's development on its own. It's very important. You cannot rely all the time on inequality. The other thing is the long-term strategy that we apply or adopt. We should make sure that in long term, of course, we want to see a reduction in inequality as well as poverty. But to do this thing, first of all, we need to have some short-term policies, and these policies should focus or create more livelihood opportunities for the poor people, looking after their health and other things, and then gradually we will see reduction in poverty as well as inequality. Now the big question is India, right? We know that India is considered as one of the poorest country in the world, because if you see the number of people living in our country, or the number of people who are poor in our country, then we are certainly the one of the biggest poor country in the world. Now to calculate this poverty, you have different methods. You have this Lakdawala method, and you have this Tendulkar method as well. Just keep the names in your mind. Many times you find this sort of things in MCQs. You don't have to go through, you don't have to do it's too much of understanding on this Lakdawala and Tendulkar method. Just have a quick glance, spend 5-10 minutes after it, and this would be enough. But remember the names here. Now, if you see the figures, if we go through the figures, then what we find is, see, there was a bit of drop down in poverty in our country somewhere in 80s, and after that we haven't seen this drop down in poverty. Means things have been up and down a little bit, but not that significant. Now, as per this planning commission, right, it estimated that in 2011-2012, 363 million people in our country were poor. And if you calculate, it means 363 million basically means combined population of Germany, France, UK, Spain and Italy. This many people are poor in our country. Now, there has been a reduction in the number of poverty, particularly between 2004 to 5 to 2012. And if you see 2004 to 5, 407 million people were brought out of poverty, 355 in 2009 and 10, and 270. So there has been a decline in number. Beg your pardon, not brought out of poverty, but we used to have this many people, then later on this many, and now at present somewhere around this many people. So there has been a significant reduction in poverty between 2004 and 5, and this is the biggest since our liberalization. So the big question is how, why this era and why in 80s? Because if you observe this era between 2005 and 14, agriculture was expanding or growing at 4% annual rate. That means 60% increase in the rate of agriculture, and this thing took place in 1980s as well. At that point of time, agriculture growth was doing very good. So this indicates that if we want to change the situation, if we want to reduce, this is the whole gist of this article, that if we want to reduce poor people in our country, or if we want to get rid of poverty in our country, then the best shot that we have is agriculture. Focus on agriculture, bring out people or change the situation of agriculture, and we will change the situation of our country. And here I believe this doubling farmers' income by 2022 is going to help immensely in reduction or elimination of poverty from our country. Then you have this checks against atrocities. Subhas Kasinath Mahajan versus State of Maharashtra. Recently, Supreme Court came out with a verdict. We have talked about it in detail many a time. So very quickly, very briefly. Now, the thing is, every year let's take example of 2016. 10% cases associated with this SC/STs or this Anti-Atrocity Act were false cases. So you find false cases as well. At the same time, if you go through the numbers of NC, that is National Crime Records Bureau, NCRB, then we find that there has been a rise of 51% as far as this crime against SC/ST communities is concerned. So this is, it's a very tough situation. It's a catch-22 situation for us. Recently, we have seen in 2016 many amendments were made to this 1989 Act. Earlier on, somewhere around 21-22 items were falling under this anti-atrocity law. Modi government changed it or added. In total, we have this 47 new items that are falling under this thing. Now, the big question here, or the big thing that we need to ask or look after, is this, that of course some items, like we find this sort of things as well, fake or false cases, but we need to focus on improving our police investigation. The other thing is Supreme Court has diluted, or Supreme Court has took a stand on this thing, but this is purely a domain of this legislature to decide, and let our elected people decide. We have some exceptional people. We can form a body, we can have stakeholders together, and we can seek advice of former judges as well. Eminent jurists and other people can take part in this thing, and then we can work out a formula that some cases, right, if there is a sort of literal attack, violent attack, and other things, then you can ask for immediate arrest. But just for verbal things and other things, it's better that not ask for this automatic arrest and other things. Again, let experts decide what exactly the nature of this thing should be. With this, we have a very important news here. Congress and 6 other parties, they are going to, or they are on one page when we talk about this impeachment of Chief Justice of India. There are 5 different items based on which they are claiming for this impeachment. Now, how this thing works, you have this article 124 subsection 4 of this, or sub-article of this article 124 of the Constitution. It talks about this impeachment. It can be done on proven misbehavior or incapacity. Now, first of all, this chairman or this vice president, that is Venkaiah Naidu, will have to admit this motion, or he can reject it as well. He has two things. Once it is admitted, then you will have a committee of 3. Will have one Supreme Court judge. You can have Chief Justice of a High Court and a distinguished jurist. Together they can go through the charges, and once the charges are proven, then they can recommend the chairman to go ahead, and then if this person CJI is found guilty, then it could be removed by asking the president and then president. So this is the whole process, but this motion has to be passed by both the houses, and both the houses, you need to have 2/3 of majority agreeing on this thing, voting members present and voting, and majority of the total membership of the house. So this is going to be a bit challenging for this parties here, because but again, let the committee, let's wait and watch whether this chairman is allowing this thing or not. With this, you have this festival, this item that you find on the first page. It is called Mayong. It is associated with Assam. Remember this thing? Amir Khan, a famous film star of our country, has raised an army of 1 lakh Jal Mitras. That means, I believe, water friends, or friend of water. And what they are going to do is they are going to create this water harvesting structures in the state of Maharashtra before this monsoon. So this is a very interesting stand taken by Amir Khan. 2 minor girls are raped in our country again, one in Uttar Pradesh, other one beg your pardon, in Chhattisgarh. Fuel prices has gone up. This is going to kick inflation. India and UK, we held this CEO forum. Many questions were raised, and we are closely following this thing, and hopefully we'll find some more articles and editorials. Tomorrow is Sunday, so maybe Monday or Tuesday, and then we will analyze it. We will find articles on Chogam as well, I believe. So that's everything in today's discussion. These are your answers, and this is a question for you. Bit difficult one. You have to use your atlas for it, but it will help you immensely. That's everything. I'll see you all soon. Till then, enjoy your studies. Jai Hind. Goodbye.